All right, former Speaker and my dear friend Newt Gingrich says President Trump has had an amazing 9 days. Quote, "We've just lived through a truly historic series of unpredictable and profoundly dynamic events. Even as I lived through them, I couldn't process everything that was happening immediately." Boy, do I agree with all that. Joins us now, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker and Fox News contributor. You know, Newt, it was information shock, that's for sure. But I mean, the headline to me, I just unleash you on this thought. By the grace of God, Mr. Trump survived an assassin's bullet, okay, by a millimeter and by the grace of God, as the former president has said. And then it goes into what I thought was the most positive, remarkable, good vibe, growthy Republican National Convention. Probably the best one we've seen in a very long time. And I think, by the way, that RNC convention was so good, it was a knockout punch for Joe Biden and the Democrats. They still don't know what to do about that convention. But anyway, I'm leading it into you. You can take the bit and run with it, Mr. Speaker.
Well, this was my, this was my 9th convention. And first of all, I don't think you can overstate the providential nature of President Trump's survival. He's looking over here. He comes back at exactly the right second, so the bullet which would have hit him in the head hits his ear. He could have been dead, and we would have been in a totally different country at that point. So that really set the stage for everything. In all 9 conventions, I would say this was the most unified, the most enthusiastic, and I thought very professionally done. Calista and I were both given a chance to talk to the convention in the country. She did on religious liberty, and I did on national security and foreign policy. And people were very attentive. They wanted to learn. They wanted to be involved. They knew how historic this was going to be. I think that J.D. Vance's introduction was very effective. His wife was charming, although I have to say, I think that Ty Trump, the granddaughter, probably stole the show. But the net effect of all of it was very, very powerful and set them up. And then, of course, on Sunday, I remember we were totally relaxed. Everything was calm. And all of a sudden, Calista says, "Oh, by the way, Biden just withdrew." I thought initially it was the Babylon Bee. It just didn't make it sudden. I mean, to have something posted on X, it was just crazy.
Just like that.
So here we are.
Yes, here we are.
And then we acquired a San Francisco radical as the Democratic nominee. So it's going to be wild.
Couple quick bullets on this. There's so much to talk about. Substantively, I thought Mr. Trump's platform and speech. Now, the first part of that speech was incredible when he narrated the attempted assassination. But, Newt, beyond that, much has been written about that. Not so much written about the fact that Trump gave probably the growthiest speech I've ever heard, even going back to Reagan. I mean, time and time again, Trump talked about cutting taxes. At one point, he did the Laffer curve. He said, revenues went up after we cut taxes. And he talked about drill, baby, drill, and, of course, deregulation and growth, growth, growth. I mean, that is a very strong statement. And I think growth people win, redistributionists lose. I think tax cutters win and tax hikers lose. What do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, that the Republican National Committee should make a huge effort to get the platform in the hands of every American. It's very short. It was personally edited by Trump,
yes.
and it is his statement, and it's very effective. I think you'll find that virtually everything in there, as you know, we run a project called the America's New Majority Project. Virtually everything in that platform tracks with what the American people overwhelmingly believe. And if the better it's understood, the better Republicans are going to do this fall. Second, I think it's important to recognize that Reagan really captured supply-side economics, but Reagan wasn't an entrepreneur. Trump really gets the growth thing. And Trump really understands that you can bring this country back together if everybody's working, if incomes are going up, if there are more goods and services. And so I think he has a vision of a very dynamic, very positive American future. And I think the more he communicates that, particularly if you contrast it with Kamala Harris's San Francisco radicalism, her desire to raise taxes, her desire to kill the energy industry, go down the list of everything she believes. She is far and away the most radical nominee in Democratic Party history, including George McGovern. She is more radical than McGovern would have been.
By the way, McGovern, later in life, as you may know, when he became an innkeeper in New England, became a capitalist. He really did, and talked about it in some length. I interviewed him once or twice on a different network. Is this not the George McGovern that I learned when I was a child? Anyway, Newt Gingrich.
He wrote a great Wall Street Journal article.
Yes, that's the one.
Explaining that he'd been wrong.
I'm sorry. Newt Gingrich, you're the best of the best. All my best to Ambassador Kalista. All right.